Good evening all of you. Good to see you all again. This, according to me, is the most important chapter from UPSC's point of view, not only from paper 3's point of view, but even paper 1 and paper 2. ये मेरे हिसाब से मैं हमेशा मानता हूँ कि पेपर 1 और पेपर 2 में भी बहुत सारे सवाल पूछे जा सकते हैं from this portion. So we will discuss this chapter in 2 sessions, today and on Saturday. You will get the notification and we will finish this using almost 1/3 today and 2/3 on Saturday. So let's get going. We talk about social sector, and again I repeat, very important from our exams point of view. So the first thing is in introduction, and one more thing, in this discussion I am also including last year's economic survey discussions. So don't worry at all. Last year in economic survey I had told you that whatever I have not covered last year I will cover it in the next survey. I am covering it in this also. So don't worry at all. We will be covering all the talks, last year's survey and this year's survey on social sector. So survey begins by saying that sustainable and inclusive growth creates a virtuous cycle of economic and social development. Kyun? Because when there is social and economic growth, there are income creations, there is high level of participation possibility. So people get chance to grow further in the economy. And that is why when you grow with education, healthcare, हमेशा याद रखिए, finally it is the humans of a country which make a country. So if the humans are invested in, then it creates long-term growth. It also says it enhances living standards through better healthcare, living standards through better healthcare, education and basic necessities. तो major part अगर आप मुझसे पूछे वो ये है, it expands opportunities. More opportunities create good living standard. Then it says if we have holistic policies in education, health, skilling will be the key to transforming growth. See, holistic means not only focusing on the immediate but also focusing on long-term stability and solution system. Then it says government has adopted measures to ensure welfare for all with the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047 and growth-led development. So focus has to be on all-round development, क्योंकि social policies सिर्फ isolation में काम नहीं करते. जैसे अगर मैं example देता हूँ, if you don't work on nutrition during childhood, then the child will not receive enough capacity to have a good brain, which will mean your educational endeavors are gone. तो ये अकेले में काम नहीं करते, ये मिलकर काम करते हैं. Similarly, if you don't educate the mother, the chances that the child will be undernourished become higher, fulfilling the obligations worse. Similarly, if you are not working on say vaccination of the child, you will not be able to work on their future health system. So it's all combined. When you work at one place, you work at another. तो इसीलिए सभी पे काम करना जरूरी है. So it's a complex interplay of multiple factors. Social sector जो है वो isolation में नहीं होता. It's an interplay of multiple factors. Now, ये बहुत ही important बात है, prelims के point of view से याद रखोगे, that the social sector expenditure has shown a rising trend since 2017 and the compounded annual growth rate of 15% between 21 and 25. And social sector expenditure as a percentage of total expenditure of the government grew from 23% to 26% in the last 4 years. तो ये कुछ important है, ये trends हैं. तो हमें बस trends याद होना चाहिए. अगर ये statement आ गया पेपर में, we should be able to write it down. Then this is again total expenditure of the government. We saw 45, total expenditure, that is 45 lakh crore, out of which 11 lakh crore was on social services. Out of which education is 4 lakh crore and Ministry of Education estimates is around 6 lakh crore, health is 2 lakh crore, others 4 lakh crore. Now this table is again important mainly from the point of view of this part and this part, that how has the social sector expenditure evolved from 45 lakh crore to 83 lakh crore and 90 lakh crore. So the social sector expenditure has, total expenditure has doubled up in the last say 8 years, but the social sector expenditure has more than doubled. Here, ये 45 से 90 पहुंचा, ये 11 से 23 पहुंच गया. So the proportionate expenditure on social sector is much larger than what we see on other places. In education, it has almost doubled. In healthcare, it has more than doubled. So this is again something that we are looking at. ये इसलिए मैं आपको बताता हूं कि सोचिए अगर अखबार पढ़ के हमने ये लिख दिया that social sector में expenditure कम हो रहा है इंडिया में, तो गड़बड़ हो जाएगी. So survey says that social sector expenditure has been rising at a fast pace compared to the total expenditure. तो अगर सवाल आए ज्यादा कौन बढ़ रहा है, total expenditure या social sector expenditure, it is social sector expenditure. Then if we see further, expenditure on social services as a percentage of GDP was 6.7% and it has now grown to 8% and 7.8% by 23-24. And that shows that in education it has almost remained stagnant. In healthcare it has increased slightly as we see. Others we see again increasing. Again these trends are important. तुम्हें रटने की जरूरत नहीं है data, सिर्फ trends याद रखोगे. Then you know, if we look at total expenditure on services as a percentage of total expenditure, अब देखो expenditure on social services 10.41, 14.79 and now 25.67. So continuously rising trend. ये सारे slides हमें यही बता रहे हैं. ये आपको डाउनलोड करने को मिल जाएगा तो आप चिंता मत करिए. But these slides are telling us that the social sector expenditure trend has been continuously rising in all the years as a percentage of total expenditure and even total expenditure in rupees lakh crore. You know, that is what it has been rising at. Then we see again expenditure on education grew by a compounded annual growth rate of 12% from 5 lakh to 9 lakh crore and health at 18% from 3 lakh to 6 lakh crore. That again is important, that education it is rising continuously. Similarly on healthcare it is rising continuously barring you know a few small blip here, but otherwise rising continuously. So again we keep it in mind that the trend is continuously rising on expenditure on education and health, and it has been seen as a fact that whenever expenditure on education and health does well, we tend to see much better returns in the economic system in the longer term. Then we see this, the survey says that there is a paradigm shift. Paradigm shift का मतलब pattern shift. एक pattern में बदलाव देखने को मिला है भारत में. कैसे? India's rise has been as the 5th largest economy, translated with 10.3 crore women receiving LPG connections. Now the number is reaching 11 crore. ये पिछले साल के सर्वे से है. अब ये नंबर 11 करोड़ पहुंच गया. 11.7 crore toilets built under Swachh Bharat. 52.6 crore Jan-Dhan accounts opened. Now this number is 53.5 crore. 3.47 crore Pakka house constructed under PM Awas Yojana. And remote villages, अब ये prelims के point of view से याद रखोगे. Remote villages like Demchok in Leh and Bulumgavan in Maharashtra have seen transformative changes with tap water and electricity reaching them only recently. So you know, schemes like Saubhagya, Sehaj Bijli Har Ghar Yojana, and schemes like Jal Jeevan Mission are also playing their own role. That is what the survey is trying to hint at. Then you know, this is a very important conclusion, that long-term welfare policies are essential to shift from short-term handouts rather than giving populist transfer. Focus should be on capacity building. Always keep that in mind. आज आप एक आदमी को पैसा दे दे लेकिन अगर उनकी कैपेसिटी नहीं बनाए तो वो हमेशा मनी ढूंढते रहेंगे. And placing people on the development treadmill from the welfare treadmill is not just a matter of fiscal sustainability but also helps in enhancing self-esteem and personal dignity of citizens. Development treadmill is run for development capability growth. Welfare treadmill is put people only in the zone where keep doing charity, keep giving them money, but don't enhance them. that is a wrong treadmill to be on. Right treadmill is be on development treadmill, and it won't only help in fiscal sustainability. सिर्फ fiscal discipline नहीं है ये, क्योंकि fiscal discipline तो है ही, क्योंकि उस केस में हमारे expenditures कम होंगे और requirement of expenditures कम होगी, हमारे लोग ज़्यादा capable होंगे, तो अपने आप government के requirement of spending for welfare will become that much lesser, but also keeps in giving people a self-esteem and dignity. Charity से dignity नहीं बनती, capability से बनती है. So focus on capability rather than charity is what the survey suggests. Then of course, they talk about pillars of new approach. So the strategy prioritizes efficiency and impact per rupee spent. जो पैसा आप खर्च कर रहे हैं वो properly खर्च करना चाहिए rather than सिर्फ ज़्यादा पैसा खर्च करने के. तो important ये नहीं है that you are spending 1000 rupees. What are you doing with that 1000 rupees is equally important. So विदाउट इंप्रूविंग स्पेंडिंग एफिशिएंसी, जब तक टारगेटिंग सही नहीं होगी, जब तक आउटकम पे ध्यान नहीं होगा, तब तक इंक्रीज्ड एलोकेशन से फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. ऑलराइट, सो देयर शुड बी फोकस ऑन टारगेटिंग, फोकस ऑन आउटकम्स rather than only focusing on amount of expenditure. Now, how has the government tried doing it? So digitization in government has enhanced welfare delivery. 38 lakh crore transferred via DBT, reducing leakages through JAM Trinity. And then government from fiscal year 18 has included expected outcomes, and जो भी आपके expected outcome है, नीति आयोग फिर outcome monitoring करता है, that whatever you had expected, were you able to achieve that outcome or not. So make sure that performance tracking dashboards are there and management information systems are created. So Niti Aayog tries checking out that whatever target you had set, are you able to achieve those targets or not. Also, we had programs like aspirational district program, aspirational blocks program, vibrant villages program, Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra, to make sure that basic requirements of health, education, etc. can be taken to last mile, helping people in achieving that. Similarly, focusing on health and sanitation by Mission Indradhanush, this is for vaccination against 12 disease. Swachh Bharat have reduced disease rates. अब यहाँ भी देखिए, vaccination coverage rising from 77 to 83% between Family Health Survey 4 and 5. And then Atal Pension Yojana, Jeevan Jyoti Yojana, Suraksha Bima Yojana have ensured that even unorganized sector and poor people get social safety nets of insurance and pension. And then capital expenditure has been increased for societal welfare. Survey also says that data management and digital transformation has resulted in national data sharing and accessibility policy, platforms like Disha and Prayas, and outcome monitoring. तो अकाउंटेबिलिटी बढ़ती है, पता चलता है आपने एजुकेशन पे खर्च किया, नतीजा कितना आया, हेल्थ केयर पे खर्च किया, नतीजा कितना आया. सो टारगेटिंग हैज बीन मच बेटर इन द लास्ट 7-8 years compared to targeting that we saw before that. Also, you know, the data governance quality index was launched by Niti Aayog to improve data governance by fostering competition and peer learning among 75 departments and ministries, covering 567 schemes since its inception in 2020. And the score has improved from 2.29 upon 5 to 3.95 upon 5. Data governance quality index में ये देखा जाता है कि गवर्नेंस की क्वालिटी कैसी है अलग अलग डिपार्टमेंट में, अलग अलग मिनिस्ट्रीज में. तो इससे आपस में कंपटीशन लगता है कि मुझे ज़्यादा पॉइंट्स मिले, मुझे ज़्यादा पॉइंट्स मिले. और साथ में ये भी पता चलता है that whether these ministries are actually able to deliver what is being promised in the program. And we see a good improvement in score from below 2.5 to close to 4 within 3 years. देखिए इसमें है क्या, accountability की बात होती है. If you hold people accountable, if people know I am being watched, people are looking at me, they will definitely start performing. These are good. अब ये आंसर तुम सिर्फ इकोनॉमिक्स में नहीं लिख सकते, गवर्नेंस रिफॉर्म्स में लिख सकते हो, efforts done by government to improve efficiency में लिख सकते हो, efforts done in administration to promote efficiency में लिख सकते हो. So not only in economics, this can help you in governance, this can help you in polity, societal changes you can write there. Then increasing private sector participation in corporate social responsibility, 14 से 22 में 1.5 lakh crore was spent on CSR, with 50% of total spending happening in just last 3 years, making an average CSR of 25,000 crore. That is a big achievement in India, because initially CSR was not even touching 10,000 crore. Also, if you see, from 17,000 crore to 26,000 crore CSR spending in a span of 5 years. We also see that in 5 states, Maharashtra is way ahead, followed by Karnataka, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh. तो आप याद रखेंगे प्रीलिम्स के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से 5 CSR receiving states, Maharashtra followed by Karnataka, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh. ये होना भी है. More industries, more corporates in these states, they are expected to be paying more for CSR. Then public sector constitute 2% of companies but contribute 17% of total CSR amount. That shows a high, more than proportionate contribution of public sector in CSR. And that is where private sector should be, kind of pulled up. सरकार को देखना चाहिए कि private sector क्यों fulfill नहीं कर पा रहे अपना obligation, जहां भी नहीं कर पा रहे. Also, top 4 sectors receive 75% of CSR funds. Healthcare and sanitation 38, education 32, rural development 6, and environment and animal welfare 10. So almost 85% of total resources of CSR going to 4 sectors: health, education, rural development, environment. And 50% of CSR funds are implemented through non-profit organizations, which means companies are themselves unable to achieve that. So they give it to the non-profit organizations and get certified by them. So that gives business to NPOs also. And it is centered around corporate headquarters. ये देखा गया है कि जहां भी corporate headquarters ज़्यादा हैं, वहां CSR ज़्यादा दिया जा रहा है. Distance अगर बढ़ गया तो CSR के benefits कम है. अब ये अच्छे समाचार नहीं है. कोशिश ये होनी चाहिए that even in relatively remote areas, distant regions, जहां corporate headquarters नहीं है, वहां भी CSR दिया जा सके. Then we see case studies from aspiration to transformation. Baramulla and Gumla were given PM awards for excellence in public administration because Baramulla, addressing its challenging of topography, could create a birth waiting ward which benefited 20,000 pregnant women. Gumla could tackle anemia and malnutrition by promoting cultivation of ragi and empowering self-help groups. अब ये examples तुम लिख सकते हो about efforts made by districts, effort made by the system in improving within, whether social sector improvement. अगर कभी आंसर लिख रहे हो about what has been done for economic distribution enhancement. जब तुम ये case study डालते हो अपने आंसर में, you tell the examiner, look, I am one up better than others because I am adding more to what I had seen. Then you see next, improvements in multidimensional poverty. So multidimensional poverty is what measures poverty on the basis of education, nutrition and standard of living. अब ये globally UNDP publish करता है, इंडिया में नीति आयोग इसको कैलकुलेट करते हैं और हर साल बताते हैं that on multidimensional poverty index what is the situation of different states and so on. साथ में ये देखा जाता है कितने लोग multidimensional poverty में हैं, जिसे head count कहा जाता है, और अगर आपका deprivation score 0.33 या हायर है तो उसे माना जाता है कि आप deprived है. मतलब अगर मान लीजिए 14 यूनिट्स है multidimensional poverty measure करने को and you are found deprived on 5 of them, then you are considered deprived on multidimensional poverty index. Multidimensional poverty index will consist of, when UNDP publishes it, it uses education, gross enrollment ratio, adult literacy, India में भी वही है. For healthcare, UNDP considers child mortality and the nutrition part. India में इसमें एक added है maternal care. Standard of living में they talk about accessibility to clean drinking water, accessibility to electricity, accessibility to to the market, type of floor, type of assets, type of cooking fuel. ये सारी चीजें देखता है UNDP. इंडिया एक और ऐड कर देता है उसमें accessibility to banking. All right, so these are things under multidimensional poverty index. अब सर्वे ये बताते हैं that India's multidimensional poverty index halved from 0.117 to 0.066 in the last 5 years, and 13.5 crore people escaped poverty in this time period, and rural India led this progress, with Uttar Pradesh seeing the largest escape, followed by Bihar, MP, Odisha and Rajasthan. Niti Aayog bolte hain 24.8 crore people have escaped multidimensional poverty between 13-14 to 22-23, with poverty rate dipping from 29 to 11%. Post 2015, they say, it has accelerated, with poverty rate of 10.66% compared to 7.69%, the rate of acceleration. So number of people coming out of poverty is now happening at the rate of 10.6% compared to 7.69%. So they are saying that if we measure by multidimensional poverty index, we will get a better result, or we are getting a better result in India. और उसका रीजन है जैसे उज्ज्वला योजना, जैसे ग्राम सड़क योजना, जैसे जल जीवन मिशन, जैसे सहज बिजली हर घर योजना. So accessibility to water, accessibility to electricity, accessibility to clean cooking fuel, आवास योजना giving accessibility to good household, that all is increasing our index. यहाँ अभी भी हमें एक चूक है, ये समझिएगा. there is a problem in India in MPI. We have done very well on these social standard of living index, but when it comes to health index, our stunting rates are still high, wasting rates are still high. When it comes to education, the gross enrollment ratio is high, but the dropout rates are also high. So we need to manage those things. हमारा जो स्कोर बढ़ रहा है वो स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग की वजह से बढ़ रहा है, बट हेल्थ और एजुकेशन पे अभी भी बहुत ज्यादा इंक्रीज नहीं देखने को मिला. Then we see, as I told you on the previous graph, that this is the number we look at in multidimensional index, and we see the decline on deprivation of individual level. Nutrition, you see, from 19.8 to 11.9. Child, adolescent mortality and child mortality 1.9 to 1.2. आप देख रहे हैं यहाँ उतना डिक्लाइन नहीं दिखेगा जितना स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग में आपको देखने को मिलेगा. Maternal health 14.6 to 9.4. Years of schooling 10.7 to 6.6, and school attendance 5.2 to 3.6. ये components हैं multidimensional poverty index के. बट अब यहाँ देखिए, cooking fuel उज्ज्वला योजना making a huge difference. Sanitation स्वच्छ भारत योजना making a huge difference. ड्रिंकिंग वाटर जल जीवन मिशन, तो आप देखिए 50% का डिक्लाइन आपको यहाँ दिखेगा. इलेक्ट्रिसिटी दीनदयाल उपाध्याय ग्राम ज्योति योजना एंड सहज बिजली हर घर योजना मेकिंग अ ह्यूज डिफरेंस. हाउसिंग पीएम आवास योजना मेकिंग अ डिफरेंस. assets we see them declining, but majorly we have not done major work on assets. Here जनधन योजना making a difference. तो ये आपको इसलिए दिखा रहा हूँ कि स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग में मैसिव डिक्लाइन है, यहाँ पर भी डिक्लाइन है, but that's not matching what's happening here, and maybe we can get a little conscious over here now. Then household consumption expenditure survey publish हुआ in 2022-23 and 23-24. Survey discusses that household consumption expenditure survey and system, saying that the urban rural gap in consumption expenditure in the urban rural gap has declined to 70% from 84%. तो जो गैप था कि अर्बन एरिया में कंजम्पशन बहुत ज्यादा था, रूरल में कब, वो अभी थोड़ा डिक्लाइनिंग दिख रहा है. साथ में द एवरेज वैल्यू ऑफ एमपीसीई वाज एस्टिमेटेड at 4122 and 6996. This is about monthly per capita consumption expenditure for urban and rural areas respectively. So we see now the per capita expenditures on an average are rising like this. We also see 42, 47 and 70, 78 considering imputed value of items received free of cost. इससे क्या दिखता है हमें, देखिए, that the urban rural gap is declining, which means even if you are in the rural area, chances that you will have accessibility to commodities is now comparatively better as compared to the chances of getting accessibility to commodities if earlier you were in the urban areas or rural areas. Then we see further, Gini coefficient has declined. ये measure of inequality होता है, Gini coefficient, और जो हमारा household consumption expenditure survey है वो बताता है that Gini has declined in the last 2 years, rural 0.284 from 314 and urban 0.237 from 266. ये भी देखने को आता है that the bottom 5% in rural area is spending 1677. This will be lesser than poverty line. Bottom 5% in urban is 2376. That is above poverty line. Top 5 in rural are spending 10,000 per capita per month, urban 20,000 per capita per month. So a family of 5, the top 5% family in urban area is spending 1 lakh rupee per month, in rural area 50,000 rupees per month. Bottom 50% family of 5, bottom 5% is spending around 15,000 rupees, 11,000 rupees in urban area and around 8,000 rupees in rural area. तो अब देखिए bottom 5 में comparatively ज़्यादा proximity है top 5 के मुकाबले. Also we see that among the average marginal propensity, marginal expenditure per capita has witnessed maximum increase in the 5 to 10% of population. So now the focus should go towards 0 to 5% of population. अब सर्वे इसका कारण बताते हैं that it has happened due to subsidies, pensions, direct transfers and public spending on social services like health and education. They also say that the monthly per capita expenditure to per capita income ratio, expenditure to income ratio increased for most groups, showcasing inclusive growth despite the crisis. कि कितनी इनकम कमाते हैं और उसमें से कितना खर्च कर पाते हैं, तो हम देखते हैं कि फॉर मोस्ट ऑफ द ग्रुप्स इट हैज इंक्रीज्ड compared to what we saw earlier. Last decade consumption growth was faster for the lowest 5% than the top 5%, indicating reduced economic disparity. सर्वे का क्लेम है कि जो lowest 5% हैं वो फास्टर इनकम ग्रोथ पाए हैं, एक्सपेंडिचर ग्रोथ कंपेयर टू टॉप 5%, तो शो करता है रिड्यूस डिस्पैरिटी. बट ये एक कारण और भी हो सकता है, द टॉप 5% ऑलरेडी आर कंज्यूमिंग एट अ हाई लेवल, सो द इंक्रीज इन देयर ग्रोथ रेट विल बी लिमिटेड बिकॉज दे विल बी यूजिंग देयर मनी फॉर savings. Also due to COVID pandemic, the top 5% expenditure got affected much badly because the bottom 5% were supported by things like PM Garib Kalyan Yojana. So we see that positive yearly growth is seen in compounded annual growth rate in both current prices and constant prices, which again shows that there is good enough growth happening over the years. Also, distribution benefits of PDS have played a role. Food subsidy, there is the largest fiscal outlay in social schemes with 6.5% of budget expenditure share for food subsidy, giving approximately 1% of GDP in fiscal year 23. This has been mainly because of Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, in which the government was giving 10 kg of food to the poor, out of which 5 kg was free. And later on this was extended with 5 kg free, still continued in 23-24. Then we see wide coverage in fiscal year 23. 84% population had access to ration card, 89% in rural and 72% in urban, with 74% of the population actively utilizing these benefits. So 89% people in rural and 72 in urban, with 74% actively using it. Now welfare improvements from PDS, if you check, the market equivalent value of the PDS Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana subsidy equals 4% of final or post subsidy nominal marginal monthly private personal consumption expenditure, per capita consumption expenditure of across all household. कहने का मतलब क्या है कि PDS की वजह से इनकम बचता है, खर्चा नहीं होता, और वो खर्चा हाउसहोल्ड्स कहीं और कर सकते हैं और अपने स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग को बढ़ा सकते हैं. That because of PDS, households don't have to spend on other things and they can use it for other purposes. Then a primary survey conducted has checked that 59% of surveyed households cited improvement in quality of life as the primary benefit of government cash transfers, while 19% cited increased time for increased economic activity. तो ये सर्वे बोल रहे हैं कि जब हम कैश ट्रांसफर कर रहे हैं तो 59% ने बोला हमारी क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ बढ़ गई और 19% ने बोला हमें ज़्यादा टाइम मिला अदर इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी के लिए. बट यहाँ भी पिंच ऑफ सॉल्ट लाना पड़ेगा. People will definitely say they are benefiting because it is easier money in their hand. I will still insist we should focus on employment generation, skill development, training, so that cash transfer dependence becomes lesser. Right now it is not happening here. Then cash schemes are widely prevalent with 77% receiving cash from either center or state. तो अब जो सब्सिडी दी जा रही है ये कैश स्कीम के थ्रू दी जा रही है, जहां 77% लोग कैश रिसीव करते हैं सेंटर या स्टेट से. अगेन मैं इंसिस्ट करूंगा दैट दिस शुड बी कंडीशनल कैश. देयर शुड बी फोकस टू मेक श्योर दैट पीपल आर enhanced. Also 44% of households are using funds for food and 31% for non-food essentials, savings or loan repayments. तो 75% of expenditure जो हो रहा है, it is for food or for essential savings or loan repayment. जो wealthier households हैं, those who are rich, are using more money on food, and the lower income is majorly using it for paying back the loans actually. Among self-help groups, the participants, 78% have received loans, primarily used for consumption, health, business and agriculture. Then we see further, India's education system, which includes 26.5 crore school students, now 4.33 crore in higher education and 11 plus crore in skilling institutions. ये data अगर तुम quote करोगे तुम्हें help मिलेगा. Then we see that school education, according to new education policy, aims at producing engaged, productive and contributing citizens. You know, वो engaged का मतलब क्या हुआ? जो नेशन बिल्डिंग में पार्टिसिपेट करना चाहते हैं, प्रोडक्टिव जिनमें कैपेबिलिटी है पार्टिसिपेट करने की, और कंट्रीब्यूटिंग जो कंट्रीब्यूट ऑलरेडी करना चाहेंगे और कर रहे हैं इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ डेवलपमेंट. बनाया कैसे जाए? इक्विटेबल बनाए देश को, इंक्लूसिव एंड प्लूरल सोसाइटी एज एनविसाज्ड बाय आवर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. यू नो, इक्विटेबल, inclusive and plural. You know, everybody should get equal opportunities, everybody should be included in the growth process, and there should be plurality, different diverse sets should be included within the development process. Post COVID, the gap between class standards and learning levels has widened. ये एक चिंता का विषय है कि class 10 के scores drop कर गए by 13.4% in mathematics, 18.6% in sciences and 9.1% in सोशल साइंसेस, और ऐसे ही क्लास 3 के भी स्कोर्स डिक्लाइन कर रहे हैं. इसका कहने का मतलब क्या हुआ? कोविड पैंडेमिक हैज हैड नेगेटिव इंपैक्ट ऑन लर्निंग आउटकम्स. यू नो, सीखने के डेवलपमेंट के प्रोसेस में कोविड पैंडेमिक का नेगेटिव इंपैक्ट आया है ऑन लर्निंग आउटकम्स. देन वी टॉक अबाउट की हाइलाइट्स ऑफ स्कूल एजुकेशन. So we have 24.8 crore students across 14 lakh schools with 98 lakh teachers. Out of these, there are 69% government schools, but only 50% student enrollment. 22.5% private schools with 32.6% student enrollment. The gross enrollment ratio is near universal in primary. Primary sector में 93% लोग स्कूल में हैं, बट सेकेंडरी आते आते ये 77.4% हो जाता है, और हायर सेकेंडरी में 56%. मतलब ड्रॉप आउट रेट ज्यादा है. देयर आर मोर पीपल ड्रॉपिंग आउट ऑफ स्कूल. ऑल्सो देयर इज अ चैलेंज दैट एज चिल्ड्रन ग्रो अप they don't go into the higher education system, and that will bring a challenge on skill development and capacity building. Also, the survey says the dropout rates have steadily declined in recent years. 1.9% for primary, 5.2% for upper primary and 14% for secondary level. अब यही तो असली दिक्कत है. प्राइमरी और अपर प्राइमरी तो फर्स्ट टू लेके 5th एंड 8th, तो वहां तो राइट टू एजुकेशन है, खाना मिलता है, पास करा दिया जाता है, बच्चे ड्रॉप आउट नहीं होंगे. बट जैसे ही हम हायर सेकेंडरी की तरफ जाते हैं, वी सी अ ड्रॉप आउट. इनफैक्ट अगर 11th 12th पे चला जाऊं, देन इट विल बिकम इवन वर्स. सो दिस इज अ चैलेंज वी सी हियर, क्योंकि ये इसीलिए सेकेंडरी पे रुक गए सर्वे, बेचारे सरकार के पब्लिकेशन है. अगर हायर सेकेंडरी पे जाएंगे तो ये अराउंड 30% पहुंच रहा है. सो दैट इज अगेन समथिंग टू गेट वरीड अबाउट. चैलेंजेस परसिस्ट विद रिटेंशन रेट्स. जो बच्चे स्कूल में आए वो रुकते हैं या नहीं. इट इज 85% फॉर प्राइमरी, 78% फॉर एलिमेंट्री, 63% फॉर सेकेंडरी, और आप देखिए 45% फॉर हायर सेकेंडरी. यू नो, अगर एक बच्चा आज स्कूल आया तो उसमें से 45% बच्चे 12th तक जा रहे हैं, 55 आर कम नॉट रीचिंग द रिटेंशन पॉइंट. Then of course we see these are some positive trends we see. You know, we have girls toilet. Now the number has become 97.2% schools covered. Boys toilet 95%. We also have hand wash facility 94%, library reading room 89%, electricity 91%, medical checkup 75%, computer 57%, internet 53%. UDISE इसका डेटा का रिपोर्ट है. तो गवर्नमेंट ने ये चीजें की हैं. समग्र शिक्षा अभियान लेकर आए गवर्नमेंट, उसके अंदर निष्ठा, विद्या प्रवेश, डिस्ट्रिक्ट इंस्टीट्यूट्स ऑफ एजुकेशन एंड ट्रेनिंग, कस्तूरबा गांधी बालिका विकास विद्यालय। अगर आप ये देखेंगे निष्ठा क्या फोकस कर रहा है, इंटीग्रेटेड टीचर ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम। डिस्ट्रिक्ट इंस्टीट्यूट्स ऑफ एजुकेशन एंड ट्रेनिंग क्या कर रहे हैं, नोडल इंस्टीट्यूशंस बन रहे हैं फॉर गिविंग एजुकेशन एंड ट्रेनिंग टू टीचर्स। विद्या प्रवेश क्या कर रहा है, 3 मंथ प्लेस बेस्ड स्कूल प्रिपरेशन मॉड्यूल, ताकि सब लोग स्कूल जाते हुए फेमिलियराइज्ड रहें। कस्तूरबा गांधी बालिका विद्यालय क्या कर रहे हैं, दे आर रेजिडेंशियल स्कूल्स एंड फोकसिंग ऑन SC, ST, OBC माइनॉरिटी एंड बिलो पॉवर्टी लाइन। नेशनल असेसमेंट सेंटर परख क्या कर रहा है, इट इज गाइडिंग स्कूल एजुकेशनल बोर्ड्स ताकि वो भी अपने अचीवमेंट्स को बढ़ा सकें। अचीवमेंट सर्वेस कर रहे हैं ताकि ऐसा ना हो कि कुछ स्टेट बोर्ड्स बिलो द लेवल पढ़ाते रह जाएं और वहां से पढ़े हुए बच्चे अच्छा ना कर पाए। So to make sure that children can do well and the state boards are also up to the mark, Parakh is being used. And then Diksha, this is digital infrastructure for knowledge sharing. That is Diksha, digital infrastructure for knowledge sharing. So that's a national digital platform for school education by NCERT. Alright, digitally आप NCERT से रन करती हैं school education के लिए। ये इंपॉर्टेंट है, इन चीजों को याद करोगे प्रीलिम्स के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से ज्यादा। सिमिलरली स्ट्रेंथनिंग ऑफ टीचिंग, लर्निंग एंड रिजल्ट्स फॉर स्टेट्स, स्टार्स, ये क्या कर रहा है, क्वालिटी एंड गवर्नेंस ऑफ स्कूल इन 6 स्टेट्स पे फोकस कर रहा है, HP, केरला, MP, महाराष्ट्र, ओडिशा एंड राजस्थान। PM Shri is the Prime Minister's School for Rising India to create exemplary schools, setting up 14,500 such schools. Then Ullas Nav Bharat Saksharta Karyakram, which is foundational literacy and numeracy for non-literates above 15 years of age. Foundational literacy and numeracy for non-literates above 15 years of age. And then similarly PM Poshan, that is Poshan Shakti Nirman scheme, 1 hot cooked meal for students in all government and government aided schools between 1st and 8th. And then National Means Cum Merit Scholarship scheme to make sure that students get meritorious students get scholarship जो इकोनॉमिकली वीकर सेक्शन से हैं, ताकि उन्हें पैसे के अभाव में ड्रॉप आउट ना करना पड़े। So these are all the schemes that we talk about that they are running. Then survey talks about a case study, Vidyanjali school volunteer program. वो कहते हैं that इससे स्कूल का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एनहांस करने की बात हो रही है कम्युनिटी पार्टिसिपेशन से और CSR से। प्राइवेट सेक्टर को भी इन्वॉल्व किया गया है इसमें और विद्यांजलि पोर्टल बनाया गया टू फैसिलिटेट स्टेक होल्डर एंगेजमेंट, NGOs, CSR, volunteers, and people can participate in it. The volunteers can be alumni, retired teachers, homemakers, and Indian diaspora to support schooling and enhancement of schooling in India. Vidyanjali as a case study you can always write as making education holistic and empowering. And support area is teaching assistance, mentoring, smart classrooms, digital devices, etc. The total number of schools onboarded is now more than 7 lakh and total number of individual volunteers are more than 4.5 lakh. The total CSR NGOs registered are more than 2,800. तो ये स्कीम एक मैसिव चेंज ला रहा है. Delhi led in participation, registering 2883 out of 2900 schools with more than 14,000 volunteers. अगर हम इसे बढ़ाएंगे तो कम रिसोर्स लगाकर ज़्यादा एजुकेशन विद बेटर आउटकम निकालेंगे. जो वॉलंटियर होंगे वो डेफिनेटली देखेंगे आउटकम कैसा आ रहा है. जो NGOs हैं वो आउटकम पे फोकस करेंगे. सो इफ वी कैन ऑन बोर्ड अ लॉट ऑफ स्कूल्स इन दिस, वी विल बी एबल टू रीच नॉट ओनली एजुकेशन बट क्वालिटी एजुकेशन फॉर ऑल. Then of course we talk about enhancing early childhood care and education, because 85 यही मैं बात कह रहा था, 85% of brain development is before the age of 6 years. तो गवर्नमेंट ने लॉन्च किया है आधारशिला एंड नवचेतना इन अप्रैल 2024. तो नवचेतना में क्या होता है? सपोर्ट्स होलिस्टिक डेवलपमेंट फॉर एजेस 0 to 3, ऑफरिंग 140 एज स्पेसिफिक एक्टिविटीज through a 3-year stimulation calendar emphasizing inclusivity, maternal differently abled children, maternal mental health and गर्भ संस्कार are practiced during pregnancy. कि जन्म से लेके 3 साल तक बच्चे को प्रिपेयर करें how to be a proper individual as a person. साथ में आधार, ये नवचेतना के लिए है. आधारशिला में क्या है? Blending Indian and global research promotes play-based learning with 130 plus activities for 3 to 6 to make sure that children when they reach school have a holistic growth behind them. Then we talk about Poshan Bhi, Padhai Bhi. The preschools network are now anchored in Anganwadis. This has been launched from May 23 under new education policies to build India's largest universal preschool network through Anganwadi centers. आंगनवाड़ी में अगर हम अपॉइंटमेंट्स बढ़ाएं, अगर उनके पर्सन्स को सैलरी थोड़ी ज़्यादा दें तो ये और अच्छा काम कर सकता है. ये काम कैसे करेगा? डेली लर्निंग, 2 hours of quality preschool instruction that in any case rich kids get. So the poorer kids can also get accessibility to that. साथ में play based pedagogy that Divyang children or other children, everybody should get supported. Teaching aids with respect to flashcard, puzzles, video, audio video use, mother tongue instruction to make sure children understand it and follow it easily, and then community engagement, Jan Andolan, so people participate in it and enhance it. Then of course it is leveraging 13.9 lakh Anganwadi centers serving 8 crore children. As I told you, they need to be strengthened with high quality infrastructure and well trained workers, and 40,000 master trainers will train Anganwadi workers in these principles. As of January 24, 3,735 state level master trainers have been trained across 25 states and 182 districts. Also aligned with the national curriculum framework, these initiatives aim to enhance the quality of Anganwadi centers through complementary based user friendly lesson plans. This will be a massive change along with Navchetna and Adharshila, where Anganwadis can become a center of learning and even center of job creation for locally well educated people. So this is what India should go for. मैं हमेशा ये बोलता हूँ कि jobs यहाँ हैं, अगर इनमें हम jobs create करें तो बहुत scope है. साथ में NEP फाउंडेशनल लिटरेसी एंड न्यूमरेसी पे काम करने के लिए ध्यान देने की बात करते हैं, तो वो कहते हैं कि हमने निपुण भारत स्कीम शुरू किया, नेशनल इनिशिएटिव फॉर प्रोफिशिएंसी इन रीडिंग विथ अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड न्यूमरेसी, नेशनल इनिशिएटिव फॉर प्रोफिशिएंसी इन रीडिंग विथ अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड न्यूमरेसी. तो लिटरेसी एंड न्यूमरेसी, दैट इज निपुण. ये जुलाई 2021 में लॉन्च किया गया and it is aiming to ensure कि सारे बच्चे ग्रेड 3 तक का फंक्शनल लिटरेसी एंड न्यूमरेसी अटेन कर लें by 2026-27, ताकि ऐसा ना हो that the child is in 5th standard but cannot do reading of a 2nd standard or numerical of a 2nd standard. Also innovative peer pedagogies, peer teaching बहुत important है. इसमें जो बच्चे हैं वो एक दूसरे को सिखाते हैं, या अपर क्लास के बच्चे लोअर क्लास के बच्चों को सिखाते हैं, उनको काम दिया जाता है एक दूसरे को पढ़ाने का, तो उनमें भी इंटरेस्ट आता है और वो डेवलप टीचिंग भी करते हैं. मैंने आपको एक स्लाइड दे रखा है पेयर टीचिंग पे, आप इसे पढ़िएगा जरूर. इन स्टेट इनिशिएटिव्स हैं इसमें, मिशन अंकुर इन एमपी गुजरात एंड मिशन दक्ष इन बिहार, एंड द ऑब्जेक्टिव इज टू सपोर्ट फंक्शनल लिटरेसी एंड न्यूमरेसी. एंड बट राइट नाउ दीज स्कीम्स आर रिलाइंग हेवीली ऑन टीचर्स, and that means you have to scale them up and do things that becomes a little difficult. Peer teaching is about creating student champions to guide younger or struggling peers जो हमसे छोटे हैं या हमारे साथ के हैं, उनको गाइड करें to provide collaborative learning. और समझिएगा, मैं मुझसे बेहतर ये कोई नहीं जानता कि teaching is the best way of learning. जब आप पढ़ाते हैं तो आप पढ़ भी रहे हैं, सीख भी रहे हैं. So peer teaching will not only enhance the capacity of those who are weak, it will also enhance the capacity of those who are better by giving them better enhancement of growth. In successful models in India include Nalli Kalli in Karnataka, Prerna South India, and Involves Learning Solution Foundation. So peer interactions will be the key here. Then we see social and emotional learning. अगर fourth industrial revolution से भिड़ना है तो ह्यूमंस के इमोशनल कोशेंट को भी स्ट्रॉन्ग करना होगा और सोसाइटियल पार्टिसिपेशन कोएफिशिएंट को भी स्ट्रॉन्ग करना होगा. सो SEL इज की टू होलिस्टिक एजुकेशन, फोस्टरिंग वेलबींग, रेजिलियंस मतलब डिफिकल्टी भी आए तो आप सहेंगे कैसे, एंड एकेडमिक सक्सेस, हेल्पिंग प्रिवेंट मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज. यूनेस्को ने डिफाइन किया SEL को एज अ प्रोसेस ऑफ अक्वायरिंग competencies to recognize and manage emotions, that's emotional intelligence, develop care and concern for others, and establish positive relationships, make responsible decisions. तो होगा क्या? You can be a good leader, you can be a good team member, you can be an innovator, and you can be a proper creative thinker. तो ये करने से जो machine है वो humans को फिर supplement करेंगे, ना कि replace. So if we give humans this whole idea of social and emotional learning, that can be happening. There are 5 core components of SEL: self-awareness, knowing who I am, self-management, managing situations by making sure I can handle myself well in those situations, social awareness, knowing which society I belong to, what are my duties and rights, relationship skills, making sure that if people are around me, they feel comfortable, I am able to develop good friendly atmosphere, and responsible decision making. I can take responsibility for all the decisions that I have made. So studies suggest that for every $1 invested yields $11 in SEL. तो इसीलिए academic performance बढ़ता है, participation, cognitive skills. ये आप पेपर 4 में भी यूज कर सकते हैं, ethics में, जहां emotional intelligence की आप बात कर सकते हैं. Then we see further, when we look at innovation in education, what developments we see in India. If we look at NEP 2020, National Curriculum Framework 23, they prioritize SEL based pedagogies to enhance well-being. Nipun Bharat integrates SEL for holistic child development, and state-led SEL initiatives are expanding in Maharashtra, Mizoram, Uttarakhand, Rajasthan, Tripura and Uttarakhand. Often in collaboration with NGOs, these programs create emotionally safe classrooms. You know what it does? Secure humans who will then help in securing other humans, teaching them compassion, forgiveness, upliftment, and that will create a more holistic growth all over. Mindful practices. Why am I doing what I am doing? You know, and then SEL's proven impact on mental health and long-term success makes the integration strategic investment in the nation's future. ये conclusion दोगे हमेशा कि ये proven है, जिस country के लोग emotionally strong हैं, वो country faster grow करती है. आप समझिएगा हमारा विश्व है पूरी तरह, the whole world is going through that change, India even more so. Earlier this emotional intelligence was inculcated in children by grandparenting, by joint family living. So they used to get emotional intelligence that way. Now that's a missing link in the world. So how do you create that in a nuclear family, urban area living system? By training people into that and covering them for future challenges that they will face. Then the case study is Tim Tim Tare initiative for imparting life skills. There is nationwide initiative imparting essential soft skills. ये Tim Tim Tare initiative है to adolescent students focusing on communication, emotional intelligence and critical thinking. तो ये 16 core skills पे ध्यान देता है, like empathy, critical thinking, etiquette, आपके mannerisms कैसे हैं, आप दूसरों के emotions समझ पा रहे हैं या नहीं, दूसरे दिक्कत में हैं तो आप उनकी जगह पे खुद को put कर पा रहे हैं या नहीं. And it is interactive, activity based approach. तो ये क्या करता है, that it was launched in 2009 in Tamil Nadu and has expanded across India, reaching over 10 crore students in government and Navodaya Vidyalaya, juvenile homes and other institutions. But देखिए इसमें एक बात मैं हमेशा कहूँगा important, सिखाने वाले लोगों में खुद ये capability कितनी है, वो भी बहुत matter करता है. If I am a trainer in these kind of schemes, I should also have capability to assure I can make participation better in these schemes. Then it involves teacher training, collects stakeholder feedback and demonstrates positive community transformation. It is available via PM eVidya, state relay centers, YouTube and WhatsApp to assure that everybody can be included in it. Then digital technology being used, the information communication technology skills are foundations. ये World Economic Forum बोलते हैं, तो digital literacy बढ़ाने पे ध्यान है, to increase competency development. Digital divide हमारे यहाँ ज़्यादा है, 63% of males and 55% of females in rural areas could search the internet, but 74% males and 69% females could do that in urban area. So the digital divide between rural and urban area is still pretty large in India, and therefore government has taken schemes like Diksha, study webs of active learning for young aspiring minds, SWAM, eVidya, Pradhan Mantri Gramin Digital Saksharta Abhiyan, that is PMG Disha, and e-content for Divyang to achieve the objective of inclusive digital education. ये बहुत important है, याद करके रख लीजिएगा. Steps taken by the government to promote digital education. Diksha, Swayam, PMG Disha, e-Vidya, and e-content for Divyang. Then, of course, PM e-Vidya DTH channel is there for sign language, financing for ICT labs, etc. Teachers app, comprehensive platform offering are also there. ये भी आप उनमें add कर सकते हैं. Steps taken by government. Then there is integration of artificial intelligence for efficient and effective education. Again very important. अब देखिए हर चैप्टर में सर्वे ने आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस से कनेक्ट करने की बात की है और हर चैप्टर से आपके पास नोट्स होने चाहिए. फ्रॉम एवरी चैप्टर द सर्वे इज डिस्कसिंग इट एंड एवरी चैप्टर. ये अगेन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, ये याद रखोगे. इंटीग्रेटिंग आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी इज क्रूशियल फॉर पर्सनलाइज्ड डेवलपमेंट लर्निंग. क्यों? बॉट्स आपको आपके हिसाब से सिखा सकते हैं. They can go at your pace. They can go with your understanding, and that will be personalized training. Adaptive assessments. That assessments will be good feedback, adapting to your needs, and cost-effective, inclusive education. So AI automates the routine tasks and allows teacher to focus more on mentoring. Correction मान लीजिए AI कर देगा या designing of syllabus AI कर देगा और teacher student के साथ ज़्यादा time बिता सकते हैं फिर. Similarly, AI-driven analytics help tailor teaching methods and recommend professional development for educators. किस तरह से पढ़ाना है, किस ग्रुप को आप पढ़ा रहे हैं, ये आपको AI से ज्ञान मिल सकता है. The AI can train you in that how to teach, which group I am addressing, and that tailors the educating system so that there can be better returns. Similarly, AI-powered platform under Diksha is being developed to integrate AI and machine learning for enhanced education. कि artificial intelligence और machine learning इनको मिला लें और enhanced education करें. That is what they are integrating for. Then we have integrating industry level skills and certifications. अब ये क्या कर रहे हैं? ताकि industry आपको include करे तो certifications issue किए जा रहे हैं, practical training दी जा रही है, and AI driven learning for employability. जैसा हमने पढ़ा है, survey had suggested 49% youth are unemployable. So using artificial intelligence to create that employability. And Ministry of Education has launched apprenticeship embedded degree diploma program to strengthen this industry academia linkage. ताकि industry academia के साथ मिले और साथ में ये कोशिश कर सकें that they can be together, enhancing people's capacity to participate in practical work. ऐसा ना हो कि जो कॉलेज में सीखे वो बाहर यूज ही नहीं आ रहा. Then developing AI labs and personalized learning tools. So AI driven personal tutors and virtual labs enhance learning. जो मैं आपको सिखा रहा था, personal tutors होंगे, virtual labs होंगे, तो learning skills अपने आप stronger होंगी. Then Atal Innovation Mission has launched Frontier Technology Labs, expanding on foundation of Atal Tinkering Labs in 10,000 schools across 722 districts. Again a step to promote digital education. And then these Frontier Technology Labs offer hands-on experience in AI, AR, VR, blockchains, cybersecurity, robotics, 3D printing and Internet of Things, equipping students with future-ready skills. ये दोनों point याद रख लो, ये आपको एक point बना देगा that what exactly has been done by the government to promote AI in education mechanism. Then of course there is lifelong learning through a digital prism. इसके लिए क्या किया गया? National Credit Framework strengthens regulatory architecture of lifelong learning while digital public infrastructure enhances accessibility. तो डिजिटल पब्लिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर से लोगों तक एक्सेस बनाइए और नेशनल क्रेडिट फ्रेमवर्क से पक्का कीजिए कि जो सिखा रहे हैं वो सच में लोग सीख रहे हैं. Apart, the key digital public infrastructure include automated permanent academic account registry called APAR for unique academic IDs. जो आप achieve करते गए, APAR will help in storing that so that you can prove to the world, look, I am trained in all these things. Similarly, academic bank of credits. Again, people don't have to ask you for certificates. They can quickly cross-check and see that is your academic bank of credits for storing and transferring academic credits. So as of July 2024, 2037 HEIs have joined ABC and 30.13 crore APAR IDs have been created. तो ये कोशिश कर रहा है कि अगर कॉलेजेस को क्रेडिट ट्रांसफर करना है, मान लीजिए मैंने शिफ्ट किया एक जगह से दूसरी जगह, या एम्प्लॉयर को मेरे क्रेडिट मार्क्स देखने हैं, I don't have to carry my certificate, I don't have to convince them, I can simply transfer it using APAR and using ABC, and that will create a lot of job opportunities with conviction. Then of course India's online architecture, there is SWAYAM, we have already talked about it, gives more than 13,000 courses in AI, ML and cloud computing. Then there is SWAYAM Prabha with 48 DTH channels offering 24/7 educational content. Then there is SWAYAM Plus, this is led by IIT Madras, offering industry aligned courses with Larsen and Toubro, Microsoft, etc. to promote employability in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, because these people can be trained online and then it can be created. Then there is Samarth, digital governance system transforming HEI administration. And then PM E-Vidya, again याद रख लोगे, India's online learning architecture. तो अगर पूछते हैं डिजिटल पब्लिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर कैसे किया गया, क्रिएट किया गया, ऑनलाइन आर्किटेक्चर कैसे है फॉर डेवलपमेंट, दैट इज द बेसिक टारगेट हियर. देन ऑफ कोर्स कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव रेमेडियल प्रोग्राम, ये तमिलनाडु की केस स्टडी है. द टीएन गवर्नमेंट लॉन्च्ड द इलम तेडी कालवी स्कीम, बेयर विथ माय प्रोनाउंसिएशन, बट दे लॉन्च्ड द इलम तेडी कालवी स्कीम टू ब्रिज लर्निंग गैप्स कॉज्ड बाय कोविड-19. तो इन्होंने किया क्या, वॉलंटियर्स अपॉइंट किए who will receive monthly pay to provide door-to-door learning, support, track student progress using achievement parts and reducing reliance on digital process only. So they will go door to door, talk to children, make sure they are upgraded if they had lost learning ability in the past. And the 2022 survey across 6 districts found that there was increased student engagement, improved language skill and greater interest in maths. So the scheme continues post pandemic, और मैं ये मानता हूँ कि ये स्कीम और ध्यान देना चाहिए in other states and expanded all over India, ताकि learning outcomes को और बढ़िया बनाया जा सके. Children with special needs के लिए typical program है. Again, the government initiatives is important. One, aligned with NEP and RPWD Act, Samagra Shiksha scheme provides aids, assertive devices, braille materials and therapeutic support. You know, to make sure that even if you are a child with special need, you should not struggle in getting good quality education, which will then enhance your capacity as you grow up. Also, infrastructure upgrade includes ramps, handrails and accessible toilets. Also, accessibility code बनाया गया educational institution के लिए, ताकि जो physical और communication barriers हैं, उन्हें address किया जा सके. Also, efforts have increased the enrollment of children with special needs with 16.8 lakh in elementary, 2.8 in secondary and 1.1 in higher secondary. ये तुम लिख सकते हो as efforts for making sure that there is सबका साथ सबका विकास happening. Then of course there is initiative for CWSN, जो मैंने बोला, आप इनको याद रख लेंगे और learn करके रखेंगे इसको, that what are the initiatives taken for children with special needs. Then vocational education they are focusing on, that is focusing across all institution, aligning with skill gap analysis. ऐसा ना हो कि आपको जो सिखाया गया उसमें कोई चूक रह गई और आप आगे चलकर उस स्किल को यूज ना कर पाए. Similarly, local job opportunities, you don't have to migrate long distance to get a job, you should get your job locally speaking. It introduces pre-vocational training, पहले तो preparatory stage में लाई है, basic चीजें सिखाई है. Then work exposure and then vocation specific skill development. Samagra Shiksha scheme was also providing funding for tools, equipment, teacher training, curriculum development and so on. Again remember, अगर आपसे पूछेंगे education पे सरकार ने क्या क्या effort किया, ये जितने points मैं आपको पढ़ा रहा हूँ, all of them will come under efforts to promote education. So in between the last 5 years, more than 29,000 schools have been covered under it. 88 job roles across 22 sectors introduced, 25 new job roles in 24. Job roles are creating new type of jobs, new methods in which people can be employed. And then 1.08 lakh upper primary schools are now approved for skill education development, covering 3.64 million students. So that means the employability modules have been created to include communication, self-management, ICT, and entrepreneurship with green skills, looking at future, making sure it's a green development, along with information communication technology to face fourth industrial revolution and then get employed in those sectors. Green skills jaise knowing about solar panels, knowing about green hydrogen, knowing about developing of ecological transformation, studies on habitats, all that is green skills that you talk about. Higher education, we see that we are the largest higher education system with 4.33 crore students in 2022, and the gross enrollment ratio is now 28.4%. Also, we see rising equity in education, that SC, ST and OBC groups have faster female growth, implies now we have much more equity in higher education compared to say 20 years ago. And the table suggests that if we look at the enrollment in higher education in lakhs, in 2014-15, 157 lakh were females, now it is 207 lakh, 46.1 lakh were scheduled caste people, now 66.2, scheduled caste female has increased by 10 lakh, scheduled tribe female has increased by 6 lakh. So that shows that female education is growing, SC education, ST education and higher education, graduates, postgraduates, that's a very welcome sign for India. No reservation can achieve what education can achieve for people. रिजर्वेशन देके कभी हम लोगों को उतना अपलिफ्ट नहीं कर पाएंगे जितनी पढ़ाई देके कर सकते हैं. रिजर्वेशन देना चाहिए, अच्छी बात है, लेकिन पढ़ाई कराएं अगर तो फिर धीरे धीरे उनको जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ेगी किसी और पे निर्भर करने की. ये बहुत जरूरी है. Then of course we see the gross enrollment ratio in higher education institutions between 14-15 to 21-22, and we see that all is 26.5%. The growth that we have seen, all female is higher than the average, scheduled caste is higher than the average, scheduled caste female is higher than scheduled caste average, scheduled tribe female is higher than scheduled tribe average, and OBC female is higher than OBC average. That is a proof that females are now getting much better in higher education compared to even the average growth. We have also seen number of IITs rising from 16 to 23, IIMs from 13 to 20, medical colleges have increased from 387 to 780, and universities have registered a growth of around 60% from 723 to 1213. So total higher education institutions in India have increased from 51,000 to 58,000 now. So that's a massive increase. ये numbers अगर पूरी तरह याद ना भी करो, तुम trend भी याद कर लो तो हमारे लिए ये काफी है to quote in the exam on higher education efforts. So NEP is a paradigm shift, focuses on multidisciplinary training, holistic education, research, innovation, entrepreneurship, capacity building among teachers, focuses on quality and ranking and accreditation, also digital empowerment, equitable and inclusive education, as we saw in the previous slide with more women participating and SC/ST participating, promotion of Indian languages and Indian knowledge systems, training the traditional knowledge to people, and skill development and employability, and internationalization of higher education by incentivizing foreign firms to come to India and set up shops. Then, it also focuses that by 2040, all higher education institutions will be multidisciplinary with expanded public education scholarships for underprivileged children and online learning. So, ये again आप ध्यान रखेंगे, the target for 2040 to make India a global knowledge superpower. साथ में multiple entry exit guidelines हैं, CUET लाया गया है, joint and dual degrees with foreign institutions लाया गया है, professor of practice means those who are already in industry can come and train you, dual academic programs, you can take admission in 2 places together, internship embedded degrees, supernumerary seats, R&D cells and social responsibility. So the idea is holistic growth in NEP. Regulatory reforms they have focused on. So now we have over 50 UGC AICTE regulations to govern education and research, and they do not fully align with NEP's light but tight approach. ये change करना जरूरी है. Tight रखिए, अच्छा रखिए, लेकिन light रखिए, easy to understand, easy to do business, allowing people to open up institutions. That is what light but tight approach is. So we need to make sure that it becomes easier for people to get educated, creating institutions, training and development than what we are having at the moment. So now, and there is a case study on challenges to medical education, that we are trying to develop more and more medical institutions, more medical colleges, more medical healthcare, more medical training institutions. But the challenge is in making sure how you get permissions, whether you are giving permissions to people to participate. Are we creating enough seats? Are we creating enough possibilities of MD training? You know, MBBS किया लोगों ने MD के लिए, the seats are going still at 1 crore. So can we make it affordable? So that is a very good case study that survey does. Affordability, geographical specialization, remuneration and migration. You know, so I will suggest you should go through that. And the way forward in education is efficiency in implementation, making sure there is mission mode. Mission mode as in time-bound development. Cost-effective execution of education program for everybody's accessibility, and collaboration of center, state and local system to promote growth better. Also, vocational education model, that is Lend a Hand India, demonstrates effective civil society government collaboration ताकि vocational education हो, internships हो, training हो और लोग develop कर सकें. साथ में cost effective public spending. Cost effective मतलब making sure what I am spending, I am able to achieve returns on them. That is cost effective public spending. Okay, we will stop on this today. We will begin with health sector when I see you day after tomorrow, and health and rural sector we will cover day after tomorrow to finish this chapter. All the best and thanks a lot for joining. God bless you all. Bye-bye. कितने निपटाए होंगे?